your average, one more time, before you lost your leg, your average was what?
My last year, right before I lost my leg, was 220.
220 bowling average, which is crazy high. And then today, after your amputation, you're back to bowling.
209.
209.
Yeah.
And you said you were going to be happy with 170.
Well, I lied. I also said if I can ever get back bowling, I'm going to just bowl one league on Thursday morning, and that's it. And I lied about that too.
Because now you're bowling 3.
And I was asked to bowl Friday night this time, and I finally, I have a hard time saying no, and I finally did say no. And then I said, well, I'll sub if you call me once in a while.
Now you lose your leg, and you are a kind of guy that does research, right? Because you already knew the only other, I shouldn't say the only, but another guy who lost his leg.
I was laying there in the hospital Googling on my phone to find amputees who have bowled a 300 game. And there was one, and it just happened in January of that year. It was recent, a gentleman from Mississippi.
Wow.
And his was most impressive because he was a double amputee. He lost both legs. And he bowled a sanctioned 300, and it's on YouTube. You can see it on YouTube, and he was not able to take the step. He was just standing at the line throwing the ball, and he had a 300 with 2 prosthetic legs. And his average was around 192, which is amazing.
That's amazing, yeah, because that's a great average.
And so I was so that motivated me. I said, well, if he can do it with no legs, I can do it with one leg, you know. So anyway, I looked at all the records, and he didn't average 200, but he did have the 300, so he has that on me. Ran my mouth off and said, I'm going to come back and I'm going to average 200 within 2 years. And people didn't say anything to me, but I saw people rolling their eyes and saying, what kind of drugs is he on? And so anyway, I didn't believe it when I said it. I just running off at the mouth, and long story short, I averaged 206 year 1. So I was thinking of excuses to not go bowl.
Yeah.
Because of fear of failure, and looking like an idiot out there, just standing there throwing the ball in the gutter. And all my life, I was thinking of excuses to go bowling, and now I'm thinking of excuses not to go bowling, and I knew that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
And so then Paul, my friend, told me, he said, let's set up a regular schedule. He said, I'll meet you there every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. And we're going to bowl, and you better be there. So now I've got to be there. And the first game I bowled with Paul was a 95. That was my worst game yet. And I told Paul, I said, I thought I could do this, but I can't. I said, just going to give it up. And he said, no. He said, you need to get your ass in here and bowl until you can bowl a game, and then you can bowl 2 games. Then you get on that bike and you strengthen your legs until you can take the steps, and then we're going to bowl 2 games, then we're going to bowl 3 games, and then you're going to bowl in a league. And so he wouldn't let me quit. So, and I said if I had quit, if he hadn't stopped, I may have gone back eventually, but maybe not. So I give Paul a lot of credit.
So a good friend, Paul Michael.
Yeah.
Good guy. Great story, Ken.
In all honesty, my biggest obstacle is not losing my leg. My biggest obstacle is losing the feeling in my right hand, which is also from diabetes.
And that's happening.
I can grip the bowling ball, but I can't feel how tight I'm gripping it. So if I don't grip it tight enough, it falls off my hand, and if I grip it too tight, I hang in it.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm guessing on every shot. I know how, I didn't forget what I know how to do. I know how to line up with the feet and get it in the right area. So even if I come out of the ball a little too soon or a little too early, at least it's on the right. It's on the right direction toward the pocket. But I guess I'm addicted to it because I don't think I'll ever give it up voluntarily. I'm just too stubborn. I'm just too stubborn to admit I can't do it. So I'm going to do it as long as I can.
And you're doing it 3 days a week.
I bowl 3 leagues a week. Monday morning, Tuesday night, Thursday morning.
So Ken, I got to go back to my question. And again, we can take this out. But you lose your wife, which is the biggest. That's the biggest. and then 6 months later you lose your leg, don't know if you're ever going to bowl again, good. And not to mention
Yeah.
other things, right?
Yeah.
And anything with your house, again, thank God your house is good, but how is it that you have such a positive attitude? And what were you thinking at the time? Let's go back to that. You getting out of the hospital, what are you thinking? Your hardest time in your
Well,
life?
by the time I got out of the hospital, I was encouraged. What scared me was there was a period of time where they were acting like they didn't even know if I was a candidate to get a prosthetic leg. And I said, what do you mean? Why wouldn't I be able to get them if other people get them? They go, well, your age, your weight, your immune system.
This is the VA telling you?
Yeah,
this?
your diabetes. They said, we're not even sure, you got so many things against you, we're not even sure you can get a prosthetic leg in. Wow. And then finally, when they started measuring me for a prosthetic leg, then that's when I was encouraged. They said, okay, it's going to be funny. And then I had one doctor that I don't think he did my surgery, but he does those kind of surgery. He says, a year from now, you'll be glad you did this. And I'm thinking, I'm never going to be glad I did it. I did it because I had to do it. I'm never going to be glad about it.
Yeah.
But I can tell you I'm glad I did it because now I don't have to look for infection every day.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
And I'm very grateful and thankful for the VA because while I was there for 96 days, my care was exceptional. And I've made a career out of bad-mouthing the VA, the outpatient clinics. They can't take great care of you because they just have too many people. So the outpatient care I have criticized. I can tell you the inpatient care was above and beyond.
That's good to hear.
And so I'm very grateful for the VA. Well, they saved my life, okay, first of all. And then getting my leg taken care of, getting my first 2 or 3 prosthetic legs. It's a process. You don't just have one prosthetic leg forever because your leg shrinks, it changes, you have to be ready.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like you don't have one pair of shoes forever.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, when I got to that point, and then when I started the in-hospital therapy, they just gave me a checklist. You have to be able to do this and this and this and this before you can go home. So I said, well, once I had that list, that's fine. Let's check these boxes off.
Oh, kind of like a goal list. It's your goals.
So I asked them, I said, on average, I said, I know I'm below average, but on average, once the surgery is done, then you got, of course, the healing process, and then you have to take all the staples out, and then it has to, there's a lot to go through. There's just a lot of steps. I said, how long from amputation till I'm walking with a prosthetic leg unassisted? And they go 9 to 12 months. And I did it in 6.5. So patience is not my best friend.
I was going to say, how'd you do it in 6 months? So?
Well, I just rushed them on the therapy. I said, do this, and they go, oh, that's good. I said, let's go. And then after I went home from the hospital, I still had to go back 3 times a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was going back to therapy. Then once they finally had my prosthetic leg made, I was so excited. And they had me walking around the rehab area with a wheelchair, with a therapist with me, with a harness on me so that if I fall, they'd catch me.
Yeah.
And so I'm going with the walker. So the first time, and I said, and I was so happy. I said, oh my gosh, I got my leg. I'm walking. It's what you'd call walking, even though it was not great.
Yeah.
It was a big step. And then then they took the leg off when my therapy was over, and they kept it. And they said, don't I get it to go home with it? I said, I'll be careful. And they go, yeah, right. They said, you can only use it while you're here for now because you have to be supervised until we feel like you can do it. And I thought, so disappointed. I saw I'm going home. I still don't have a leg.
Yeah.
And my second therapy session, I did so well that they let me take the leg home.
Really?
My second session. And I was walking around with a wheelchair, she says, and the therapist was great. She was a doctor of physical therapy. She was excellent because we had same kind of warped sense of humor or whatever, because we got along great. And she even told me to call her by her first name, and I never had a doctor say call me by my first name.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, she was a young female doctor. And so I said, yeah, I'm doing great. And I said, I think I can do this without the walker. And she said, no, not yet. She says, you might fall and kill yourself, and you wouldn't believe the paperwork I'd have to fill out. I said, well, I don't want you to have to fill out any paperwork, so I'll do it your way. But I said, then I was actually disappointed when they ended my therapy, because I knew they were helping me.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind going out there knowing that it was helping. You know, I didn't want to go out there if it was a waste of time.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so the next thing, it was December, and it was right after Christmas, and the next thing I wanted to do was drive. So my sister-in-law, I said, well, Sharpstown High School is right up the street. School's out. Let's go up to the empty parking lot and let me practice in an empty parking lot.
And as far as driving with one leg, it's because you don't feel. You can't feel the pedal.
And that was the easiest of all the tasks I had to learn to do. Driving was easiest because I already had no feeling. I had no feeling below the knee on both legs since 2008. So I was already driving with no feeling before losing my leg.
Really?
And I know I couldn't feel the pedals, but I know where they are. I know which ones go and which ones stop. And so there was literally zero difference between driving with a prosthetic leg with no feeling and driving with a real leg with no feeling. So driving, I drove around, I said, I'm driving home. And I just drove home. I'd never had any trouble driving. I said I'm a perfectionist. That's what attracts me to blackjack, because you can play perfect blackjack. And that element separates it from anything else. No matter what you do with anything else, you're not going to be perfect.
Right.
You can be really, really good, but it's not going to be perfect. And so the element of being able to play blackjack perfectly, that is what attracts me to it. And I love to play, but I've gotten to where I actually enjoy teaching more than playing now.
Okay, that's what I think.
Yeah.
So I think your talent can call it teaching, calling it explaining, because you're also extremely good in sales. Am I right about that? Right?
Well, and again, it's first of all, whatever you're selling, you have to believe in it, because if you don't believe it, you're not going to get somebody else to believe it.
That's right.
And
great point.
So just being honest with people, straightforward and honest, don't sugarcoat anything. I'll tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly of anything that I'm showing you. And I always hated in sales when they told us to do a presentation and they'd have a canned spiel that they use. And I said, no, I'm not going to do a presentation. I'm going to have a conversation.
Yes. But Ken, wait, stop right there, because you're right. Honesty, all that stuff. But there's a lot of people who do that and they suck at sales. I think your God-given talent is because you know how to tell a story. You know how to tell great jokes.
Yeah.
And selling is telling the story of how this product or how this service is going to work for you. And yes, you're telling the truth, but you and I can tell someone the exact truth, but they're going to buy from you. You have a very good way of explaining something.
Well, Zig Ziglar, anybody in sales knows who he is. Zig Ziglar was from Dallas. He was the master salesperson. And I've been to many of his seminars, the one thing that he said that I always will remember is, people don't buy based on what you tell them. They don't buy based on what you show them. They buy based on what they believe. And it doesn't matter what you show them or tell them. If you don't get them to believe it, they're not going to buy it.
That's a good point.
And that's what it is. So selling is a transference of feeling. If I can get you to feel the way I feel, you'll buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's a great point.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to somebody and make a few bucks, because I'll spend that money this week and they'll be mad at me forever.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a good point. Another good point.
I've driven to Austin from Houston to tell somebody to keep what you have because I can't beat it.
Wow.
It broke my heart, but you got to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And last question, Ken, last question. Somebody out there today just found out that he or she is going to lose their leg. And now with the internet, the first thing you do is you go online, look for something. They may find this story, this video. So what would your advice be to someone who either just found out they're going to, or they just lost their leg?
There's life. There's life on the other side. I mean, it's just, because I didn't believe the things people told me. Oh, in a year you'll be fine. And so it's going to be a blessing. I didn't believe any of that. You're not going to believe it at the time. But you can't. Sometimes when I don't know how many people at bowling, whether I'm practicing or bowling league, that have come up to me and told them that I motivated them or I inspired them, or they have a sister or an aunt or somebody who lost their leg and all they do is lay in bed. And I said, oh, let me talk to them. Because and realistically, you're not going to be able to do some of the things you used to do, but everybody has obstacles. Okay? It may not be losing a leg, it could be cancer, it could be pneumonia, it could be anything. And you have to make adjustments. And that is one thing where being at the VA hospital, if you want to not feel sorry for yourself, go to the VA hospital. Look around, all the people with no legs and no arms and no eyes. And then you realize you're not as bad off as you thought you were. Don't give up things you enjoy, whether it's bowling or anything, until you've done everything you possibly can to find a different way to do it.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't give up without a fight. That's what I mean to say. Yeah.